Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to our presentation. Today, we will be discussing the relationship between the United States and Guatemala and how U.S. foreign policy has shaped Guatemala's political system, economy, and migration patterns. Guatemala is located in Central America and is one of the countries most affected by U.S. policy in the region. Over time, this relationship has changed from business influence to Cold War intervention, and now to cooperation focused on migration and democracy. By explaining this history, we can better understand why Guatemala faces challenges today and how US policies continue to affect the country. Our guiding question is: how has US foreign policy influenced Guatemala's political stability, economy, and migration? Our central argument is that while the US originally claimed it was trying to stop the spread of communism, its actions brought instability to Guatemala. Today, US policy is more cooperative and focused on development and reform, but the long-term effects of past policies still affect Guatemala profoundly. We conclude that Guatemala's struggles today, such as corruption, migration, and economic hardship, are deeply connected to Cold War intervention. Before the Cold War, US influence in Guatemala came mainly through business. The United Fruit Company, an American corporation, owned massive amounts of farmland. Focused Guatemala economy depended heavily on agriculture. This gave the US a lot of political influence. Many Guatemalans resented this system because wealth stayed in the hands of foreign companies and elites, while most people live in poverty. This inequality created pressure for reform and social change, while later scared US officials. The most important event was the CIA-backed coup in 1954. Guatemala's president, Jacobo Arbenz, wanted to reduce inequality by redistributing unused land. The US saw this as a threat, not only to businesses like the United Fruit Company, but also to US strategic interests during the Cold War. Instead of negotiating, the US launched Operation PB Success, which removed Arbenz without sending in troops. This overthrew democracy and installed a dictatorship. While it helped US interests, it caused a long-term harm to Guatemalan society. After the coup, Guatemala entered a brutal civil war that lasted over 30 years. The US provided weapons, training, and money to the Guatemalan military because it was anti-communist. Entire villages were destroyed and many Mayan communities were targeted. An estimated 200,000 civilians were murdered or disappeared during this time. This violence deeply traumatized the country and weakened every institution, from courts to schools to the economy. After the Civil War ended in the 1990s, US policy shifted. Instead of supporting armies, the US began supporting institutions. US programs now focus on law enforcement reform, judicial independence, corruption investigations, community development. The 2024 Security Agreement represents a major shift from control to cooperation. This shows the US has learned from past mistakes, at least partially. Migration is one of the most powerful effects of Guatemala's instability. Guatemalans leave not because they want to, but because they feel they must to. If people cannot find work, education, safety, or healthcare, migration becomes survival. The US now tries to reduce migration by addressing root causes, not just arresting people at the border. Millions of dollars have been invested in education, infrastructure, and job creation. One of the biggest obstacles in Guatemala today is corruption. Powerful elites control institutions, often blocking reform. The CICIG Anti-Corruption Commission once gave Guatemalans hope. However, its shutdown in 2019 caused corruption to return. Without strong institutions, development and democracy collapse. The US now uses sanctions and visa bans to pressure officials. In conclusion, US Guatemala relationships have evolved through three major stages: economic exploitation, Cold War intervention, modern diplomatic cooperation. The first two damaged Guatemala deeply. The third is improving, but progress is slow. The past matters because today's problems don't appear out of nowhere. They are built over decades. Understanding this case helps us understand the power and responsibility of international politics. Thank you for hearing.